Hello, and welcome to today's yoga session. My name is Cassandra Struble, and for today's foundational life flow yoga, we are only going to need our mat to begin. And once we come onto our backs, we can either come into our constructive rest pose, we can go ahead and come into our mountain pose, which is our feet just length all the way out, toes stretching away from our body. Or we can come into our five-pointed star, which is just opening up our legs nice and wide. If we are really feeling our lower back, we can come into our constructive rest pose. That's probably going to take the most amount of pressure off of our lower back. And then once we come to our constructive rest posture, whichever we have chosen, let's kind of take a moment here to close our eyes. Just like anytime we start out, let's start out just listening to our breath. So taking a moment to start our practice, just becoming aware of our breath. Starting to notice maybe the noises around us. Maybe just listening to our breath against those sounds. We can breathe any way we are comfortable here. So if we're breathing through our nose and out our mouth, or wherever we are breathing naturally, so really not trying to force our breath, just trying to be an observer of our breath. Thinking about becoming present on our mat. Maybe even thinking about where our feet are connected. Maybe moving our toes around so we can kind of feel our mat underneath our toes. Now let's just begin to shift a little bit in our shoulders, any way which we would like. So our shoulders are connected down to our mat, but maybe we're shifting to the right and to the left in our shoulders. But still keeping some awareness on our toes, so maybe still moving them. But all we want to do here is, with our eyes closed, just really start to feel the different parts of our body coming in, meeting the earth, kind of allowing ourselves to ground a little bit. We can allow our hands to face palms down. Again, just feeling that earth underneath us. Kind of coming up to meet us. Maybe even putting a little bit of pressure on our shoulders, pressing down towards the earth. That's going to allow for their shoulder blades to kind of naturally come together. It might help us move some tension out of that area. Now let's go ahead and slowly come back to center. We're going to bring some movement down to our lower hips. So if we're in our constructive rest pose, we can always walk our feet back towards our bottom here. And for our pelvic flow here, we're just going to tilt that pelvis up and our pelvis down. Now as we are flowing here, we are not taking that lower back off the mat. So that's not more of a bridge. We're just thinking about tilting our hips up and back. As we're doing so, we can also think about what all of that lower back, kind of moving through that area. And we really have to slow down that movement. So while we're here, again, maybe closing our eyes, taking a moment to match our breath with that movement. So letting that breath inhale and exhale naturally, but really thinking about moving our hips. And it doesn't matter which way we're inhaling or exhaling, just creating a pattern here. We need to move through our back. And we can be mindful too, when we're coming down, bringing our back into the mat. We can either think about pressing all of our lower back onto our mat, or we can come into a little bit of arch. Whatever is comfortable, we just don't want to overextend that lower back. Now let's go ahead and settle back into the earth. And we're going to go ahead and inhale our hands up over our head. We're gonna extend our feet down nice and long. We're just coming in here for our extended mountain. Now, as we're taking our hands over our hands don't need to be close. They don't need to be touching. They don't even need to be straight up over our head. So we just want to allow for our shoulders to kind of be comfortable here so that they can relax. And we can always face our palms towards each other. And now we want to think about lengthening everything in our midsection. So with our hands overhead in our mountain, let's think about slowly maybe walking our fingertips up a little bit. And then slowly thinking about walking those elbows up a little bit. And then thinking about lifting through our armpits just a little bit. We can always lift and then lower our head too, because we want to feel like we can breathe here. And then on that next inhale, let's see if we can kind of lift and kind of move and shift those shoulders just a little bit more. Now on our next inhale, let's go ahead and slowly come back to that constructive rest pose with our feet. So our hands are going to stay overhead. Now we'll notice when we come back into that reconstructive rest pose, we kind of came up a little bit towards our hands. So let's go ahead and elongate again. So just kind of reaching up with our fingers, thinking about reaching with those elbows, and then through our armpits, maybe separating those shoulder blades, really bringing one up. We can even kind of move around as we're working our way up. Again, we can always lift and lower our head. Now let's go ahead right in our heart center and try to lengthen those vertebrae there. Again, we can kind of walk up a little bit further. Our palms can either face each other now, or our hands can be straight up towards the sky, whatever is more comfortable. And then let's think about creating a little space between the bottom of our ribs all the way to our heart center. See if we can create a little bit more room here. And then thinking about kind of maybe walking our hips away from us, keeping the rest of our back where we are at. Seeing that full length in our spine. Let's take some breath here. This is our pond pose, so our hands are over our head, almost kind of like we're swimming. I don't know why it's a pond. And then just listening to our breath here again. So nice big inhales and exhales, whichever breath we choose. So inhaling through our nose or our mouth, or switching it up. And just notice how our body naturally moves in this posture with each inhale and exhale. And as we inhale, let's think about really expanding that belly from inside our nose all the way through our chest, lifting up our ribs, maybe even lifting up that belly with our diaphragm. Taking that breath all the way down to our hips. So just kind of creating a cycle here, watching our breath inhale, expanding down to our hips and slowly exhaling. Now again, noticing that breath, trying to keep in line with how we are moving. Let's go ahead and walk those feet out to the edges of our mat, nice and slow. And then as we do so, we can make any adjustments we need to here. We can also walk our hands up a little bit more, kind of lengthen through that spine just a little bit more. And then once we get a little bit more lengthened here again, let's just start to rock our knees. And for that, we're just going to allow one knee to fall to the center and the other knee to fall to the side. Now, as we're kind of windshield wipering here, we really want to think about keeping all of our back on our mats. And we want to think what we talked about. So we're going to kind of walk those fingertips up, walk our elbows up, walking our armpits up. Just kind of beginning to notice that each time we come through the center, we kind of get a little bit more room to reach through the middle. And we're really taking our time here, just floating from one side to the other. Now let's slow down that speed. Whatever pace we were going, let's kind of cut it in half. So being mindful And we're just trying to flow with our breath. Inhaling one direction, exhaling the other direction. Again, no expectations, just letting go, kind of allowing for our own pace to be set with our breath. So let's go ahead and slow that down even more. So as we're slowing this down even more, we might notice some shaking as we come from one side to the other. That's fine, that is completely normal. We're kind of using our psoas muscle, which is that lower big muscle that's really deep inside of us. It's usually our fight or flight muscle, so it wants to do one or the other, kind of forcing it to relax, so it's just shaking because it doesn't know what to do. Just feeling that expansion with each knee coming to the center. We can even kind of feel it from our hips to our armpits up to our hands. So let's go ahead and slowly bring our hands up down to shoulder height. And then we're going to go ahead and bend our elbows. And after we do that, we're going to kind of be in those cactus arms. So our elbows are at a 90-degree angle. Our feet, we can walk back together into our constructive rest pose. Now let's take a moment here and just shift from our hip to our shoulder. So thinking about expanding and taking away our hip in opposite shoulder in opposite directions. So kind of feeling all of our back on the mat. That's our only goal here. We don't really have to shift really big. We're just kind of moving through. And now slowly coming back to the center, let's bring our hands down next to our hips. And we're going to come into a gentle flowing bridge. We're going to keep a very simple bridge. We're not trying to go up really high. We're not trying to come up on our shoulders. We're just going to involve two muscle groups, so we're not going to get super duper high here. So the biggest thing to think about with our bridge is our back is just along for the ride. So our lower back is really not trying to strain. It's not trying to pull us up. All we want to do to start with is we're going to lift. We're going to squeeze our bottom. And then we're going to squeeze our quad muscles. And then we're going to exhale, lower down. Now before we start, we can always walk our heels back towards that bottom. Hands are next to us, palms facing down. And again, all we're doing is just squeezing that bottom and squeezing our quads or our upper thighs here. Just getting a little bit of movement through that spine by squeezing our muscles. Again, that spine is just along for the ride. And now while we're here, kind of squeezing our cheeks and squeezing our thighs, we can start to reach down towards our toes, just a little bit. That's going to allow our cheeks and thighs to work a little bit more. Let's go ahead and slowly lower down towards the mat. Let's go ahead and bring our knees into our chest. And once we bring our knees into our chest, let's just take a little time to go left and right with our knees here. With our knees to our chest, again, there is no set way to do it. We can inhale one direction and exhale the other. And again, all we're trying to do with tonight's practice is just match our breath with our movement. So if I'm inhaling, you're exhaling, it does not matter. We don't need to adjust our breath. We just need to be mindful where we're at in this moment. Now let's go ahead and start to take our knees in a circle here, nice and gentle. Again, inhaling one way and exhaling the other. Not trying to force anything. Trying to let it move. Now, if we are moving in a circle really quickly, let's try to slow that circle down and kind of feeling all of our lower back. And each time we go through a circle, noticing what is touching, maybe noticing any parts of tension. And let's go ahead and slowly exhale, going the other direction. Nice and slow. Now let's go ahead and slowly return our feet down towards the earth. And we're going to take our right heel and just place it onto our left knee. And then we're going to take and allow that knee to kind of fall away from our belly here. So we can also take our hand here and push it a little bit away, just as long as we are not straining ourselves. Our toe on our right foot is just going to point back towards that knee. Now our hands can either, like we said, we can take our one hand and kind of push that knee away, or we can have our hands resting next to our side. All we are doing is kind of opening that hip. Here in our supine 4, we kind of notice our feet look like a funky 4. Really stretching that toe back towards the knee. And that stretching of our heel is kind of lengthening that calf. It's kind of pulling our hip open here. Now if we are pushing on that hip opening up, let's release with our hand. We're going to keep our toe and our knee open here. We're going to get a little bit of a crunch in. So this is going to be a nice simple crunch. We're going to bring our hands behind our head. With our crunch, the biggest thing with our fingers are wide and they're not pulling or reaching our neck. So as we're coming up, we're just trying to bring that elbow towards our knee. However, as we're coming up, we are coming up with that breath. So since we're crunching, we're not trying to twist or strain or pull ourselves across. We want to have some room between our chin and our chest. So as we're coming up and twisting, we're just using that breath, nice and slow, to inhale and come up and twist us. Now as we're thinking about our crunch too, our hands are just gently touching the back of our neck. They're not trying to help us pull. And also, since we have that space between our chin, we want to think about, we're not trying to arch our back or lurch it forward. We're more thinking about crunching that muscle in, and that's kind of what's bringing us up in this little side crunch here. Now let's slowly come back down towards the earth. We're going to release our hands from behind our head. We're going to do a little simple Turkish twist here. We're going to reach our left hand for that right knee. We're going to slowly pull that right knee across our body, kind of twisting through the center. And then we're going to take that right hand, we're going to walk it out as far as we can away from us. So we're just reaching with our hand and looking with our face opposite of our knee. So if we dropped our knee to the left, we're going to go ahead and look to the right. And then from here, let's go ahead and just take our eyeballs and start to look over that shoulder as far as we can. And if we want to, we can either rest our hand on our knee, or we can kind of bring that hip down towards the earth. So we can kind of play with it, see where we're at, see the tension or the tightness in that hip. But again, just thinking about the stretch coming from our hip all the way up to our back and out to our fingertips. So let's go ahead and slowly begin to blink our eyes. And then we're going to slowly bring our legs back to center. Once we come back to center, we're going to switch feet here. So right foot's coming down towards the earth. Left heel is going to go up on our right knee. Toes on our left foot are going to point back towards that left knee here. And again, for our supine 4, we're going to take that hand and we're going to slowly, if we choose, press that knee away from our belly buttons. Or we can choose, depending on our tension, to just take our hip and open it a little bit. And I will tell you, this is a posture that every day will feel different. So not really trying to be competitive with ourselves or thinking about how we did it last time, just taking a moment to be an observer here in our hips. And just kind of notice any place of tension and take our breath there. We can kind of close our eyes and imagine we're breathing down into that space. Now, if we are choosing to press on that leg, let's go ahead and let go. We're going to bring our hands back behind our head, fingers nice and wide. We're going to crunch up across that body. So again, inhaling straight up and then just turning that elbow nice and slow. Using that breath, using that inhale to help pull us. And then using that exhale to slowly allow us to come up and down at the same pace. Now again, as we're doing this crunch here, we are just allowing for our midsection here to really do the work, really squeeze us up. And the only thing that matters here is that we're moving at the pace of our breath. It is not about how high we are coming up. We can even close our eyes so we can't even see, and that we can breathe. We're not holding our breath. Slow. And let's go ahead and exhale, coming all the way down towards our mat. And let's take that left hand and we're gonna go ahead and reach our right hand. Let's reach for that left knee. Slowly beginning to pull it across. And we're gonna allow for our hand to reach out. So if we are dropping our knees to the left, we're gonna go ahead and reach back with that right. And then we're gonna slowly start to bring our eyes and look over that shoulder. And even if our eyes are closed here, we can still look down and to the left. So we can kind of choose here, stretching those eyes. So we can kind of feel the stretch from our hip, maybe stretching across through our back. And then slowly coming back to center with our knees. Now let's go ahead and slowly make our way onto our side, coming into our baby pose here. And as we come onto our side, just finding a place that's comfortable. There is no perfect baby pose. Everybody is different. So coming onto our side here, let's take some deep breaths down into that lower belly here. Nice big breaths all the way down, feeling it in our hips. Feeling that expansion. And let's slowly make our way onto all fours. And of course, once we come to our all fours, we are going to slowly begin with our cat-cow. So for our all fours, we just want to kind of check in with our alignment. We want to make sure our hips and our knees are in line. And then our shoulders, our elbows, and our wrists. And we're going to make our fingers as wide as we can. Now, as we come onto all fours with our fingers nice and wide, let's kind of just press onto our mat, kind of gripping. Maybe even noticing where our fingers are touching, making any adjustments. That's going to help protect our wrists. And as we're with our cat-cow, we're going to take a nice big inhale, squeezing our back together. And then as we exhale, we're going to round out through our spine. Inhaling, dropping our belly down towards the earth, really crunching up our back. And as we exhale, coming into our cat, we can also bring our body back a little bit, taking that pressure off of our shoulders for more of a flying cat. Why it's flying. So just giving ourselves a little bit of space in our vertebrae. We're really taking our time here, using that breath. We can always choose to pause on a cat or on a cow. Something feels good. And now we're going to come into a barrel roll with it. So once we come down to our cow, so shifting our bellies down towards the earth, crunching that back up. Let's go ahead and close our eyes and relax our neck here. So not making it hard or making it stiff here. Just allowing your head to hang. Now let's shift our hips to the right. And then on our next exhale, coming up into our cat. And then let's hang out here in our cat just a little bit. And we want to shift left and right. And then coming into our barrel on the other side, so tilting those hips. Now inhaling, dropping that belly down into our cow. And then holding our breath, shifting our hips one way. Exhaling, coming through that cat. Holding our breath, shifting the other way with our hips. And then starting that inhale with our cow. So really taking a moment to pause in between each cat-cow. Adding a little bit of shift here in our hips. Stretching through our back. And if anything feels nice, taking a moment to really stop. Now let's switch directions with our hips. So maybe thinking through, the first one is nice and easy as always. An easy way. We may have to think a little bit more on the side. Really beginning to kind of move nice and slow in our hips here. And then slowly coming back to all fours. Now let's go ahead and start out with a puppy dog. So for our puppy dog, all we're going to do is we're going to come down onto our forearms. we're going to interlace our fingers here. And as we are interlacing our fingers, we're going to notice that if we take our forearms and we start to push our forearms into the earth and push our spine back towards the wall behind us, we notice that it begins to stretch that spine. So you can kind of rock here between coming forward and pressing back. So in our puppy dog, let's come into that posture by sliding our hips back towards the wall behind us, almost as if there's a string pulling us back. Now, as we are here, our pelvis is either tilting up or it is right in line with our spine. And our head can either choose to be in line with our spine, or we can drop that head down in between our shoulders. Maybe noticing what feels good. Just trying to feel a little natural weight in our body. Now let's go ahead. Challenge ourselves here for a second. We're going to turn our toes underneath us. And then on a nice big inhale, we're going to really press those forearms into the mat. We're going to take a nice big breath and bring our bottom up towards the sky. And then drop our head down here for our dolphin. And then let's go ahead and exhale, lowering our knees back down to the earth. Now let's go ahead and try that again. So thinking about pressing those forearms, really pushing our bottom back. Turning our toes under, let's begin to press our hands down into our mats and press all the way back. Inhaling, bringing our bottom up towards the sky, straightening out the back of our legs if we can. And then exhale, slowly lowering back down. Now let's go ahead and come into all fours again. We're going to go into a little bit of spinal balance flow here. So for our spinal balance, we always want to think about where we are moving and shifting. We are shifting with opposite leg and opposite foot. So opposite leg and opposite foot are going to reach in our opposite direction. So as we come into all fours here, let's start to begin to inhale. We're going to squeeze our bottom, taking that left foot up, nice and slow. Now let's squeeze our bottom, and let's squeeze that thigh and reach out through our toe. Now let's slowly inhale, bringing our belly up to our spine. And then naturally, nice and slow, taking that right hand out in the opposite direction. Now let's just think about reaching here. Our head is either looking down at our mat or out towards our fingers. Really thinking about that belly coming up again towards that spine. Now let's go ahead and slowly bring our right hand down to our mat. We're going to lower that left foot onto the ball of our foot. We're going to reach back and get a nice little calf stretch here. Now again, thinking about our hands on our mat, we can press our hands back. Get a little bit of stretch through that calf a little extra. Some people even like to bounce on our toes here to kind of stretch out our calf muscles. Really thinking about lengthening everything through the back of our leg. Now inhaling, coming up, let's switch sides. So when we come into that spinal balance, lifting our right leg up, squeezing our bottom, squeezing that quad, squeezing our belly up towards our spine. Inhaling our left hand up, reaching in that opposite direction. Nice long stretch here. Really thinking about that belly button coming up. Now let's go ahead and slowly bring that left hand down towards our mat, dropping onto the ball of our right foot, pressing back through our heel here. Now again, as we're pressing back, we can use those hands to really give us a little bit more lengthening in the back of our leg. Feel and just pressing. Now let's go ahead on that next inhale. We're going to slowly lower back down onto our forearms, interlacing our fingers. Let's bring all of that pressure off of our weight. Also, this is a good time to say, anytime that we are in on our wrists and our wrists get tired, we are always welcome to lower down on our forearms. It will never really change the posture very much. However, if our wrists get tired, it's a very good option. So, and bringing our fingers together, bringing those forearms down towards the earth. Let's work on pressing. So really thinking about pushing, using that forearm, just meeting our mat to kind of press and lengthen. And then slowly coming into that puppy dog, sinking our bottoms back towards the wall behind us. Now again, our tailbone is not tucking under. It is actually lengthening straight out, or maybe even tilting up a little bit. Our head is either in line with our spine, or it's just hanging down. If our head is in line with our spine, let's go ahead and exhale, let our head hang here. Let's shake our head yes and no. Maybe kind of Just moving around. Now bringing our head back up, let's turn our toes underneath us. We're gonna come into that dolphin again. So turning our toes underneath us, nice big inhale. We're gonna press onto the balls of our feet, taking those forearms, really pressing us back. Bottom's gonna come straight up. All of our weight is gonna come into our hips. So we're really gonna put that weight in our bottom in those hips as if something is pulling us back. And then let's go ahead and exhale and lower down. Now taking a moment here, we're gonna come into our child's pose. So let's come back to a little bit of breath. We're gonna take our knees out as wide as our mat. And then we're just gonna slowly lower our bottom back towards our heels. And as we lower that bottom back towards our heels, let's take a moment here to stack our fists. So taking our hands and making two fists, stacking one fist on top of the other. It does not matter which one is on top. It is what is most comfortable and comes naturally. Now let's take a nice big inhale, and as we do that, we're gonna take our bottom down towards our heels. It may touch and it may not, it does not matter. We just want to think about our weight kind of sinking our bottom down. And then we're just going to connect our head to our fist here. And as we are doing so, let's just kind of feel right where our hands are connecting. Hopefully it's right in between our eyeballs. We can kind of make any adjustments with those fists as we need to. Now let's take some nice slow breaths, and we're just going to shift our hips left and right here in our child's pose. Noticing our shift as we inhale, how that belly kind of fills up. Now coming back to center with our hips, we're just going to take our forehead, keeping our forehead on our hands, we're just going to glide it along our thumb here. So if we're giving a little bit of pressure, we're going to slide that thumb. So wrists are still stacked. We're going to kind of slide our head against our thumb here, left and right from temple to temple. We can kind of use that knuckle as hard or as soft as we feel, kind of pressing that tension out over our eyes. Nice and slow. Let's go ahead and come back to center with our head. Let's take a moment here to bring our knees underneath us nice and slow. We're going to stretch our hands out nice and long here. As we are doing so, this is actually a formal child's pose. So this is lots of times what we see. However, it's just a good nice stretch to see our body's natural length. And that's all we're really doing here. However, you can also use this to transition to our down dog. So we're just kind of stretching here. Now let's go ahead and slowly inhale. We're going to turn our toes underneath us. And as we do, let's begin to walk our toes and our hands together here nice and slow. Coming up ever so gently into our forward fold. Now here in our forward fold, all we're thinking about is that belly resting on our thighs. So let's go ahead and allow for our belly to rest on our thighs, and let's let our hands touch wherever they fall. So if they're kind of just hanging here on our shins, let's touch our shins, let's touch our knees, wherever we need to kind of feel like we're not taking a lot of weight on our shoulders. Now let's take a moment and just tuck our head on our chin, take our crown of our head down towards the earth. Let's shake our head yes and no. Now take a nice big inhale, and as we exhale, just allow that belly to settle onto our thighs a little bit more. And again, shake our head any way we would like here. Now we're going to come into our half forward fold. We're going to inhale and look up, and as we do so, let's place our hands on those thighs. And then as we exhale, we're just going to hinge, keeping our hands where they're at, resting our belly on our hands now. So this is our half forward fold. And again, our head is just hanging here, but our hands are resting on our thighs. Now, nice big inhale, looking up. Let's take our hands and place them on our shin. We're going to press onto our shin and look up into our monkey. Now, here in our monkey, we want to think about really lengthening the back of our legs. So all we're trying to do is maybe shift our hips up towards the sky, trying to lengthen between our heels, the back of our knees, and the back of our knees all the way up to our bottoms. And exhaling, sliding our head back down, bringing that belly onto our thighs. Nice big inhale. Let's take our hands around our body, bringing them all the way up to the sky. And then we're going to exhale, bringing our hands to heart center. Now let's go ahead and we're going to come in to the middle of our mat. And we are going to bring our feet so that they are forward. So we can look down and just make sure they're straight to us. Doesn't matter if they are or not. We're taking a moment to look at our toes, making sure they're straight. And then let's take a moment to take that big toe about one width of a big toe in, just a little bit more. And now let's settle our hips over our ankles. And as we're doing so, kind of noticing that all four corners of our feet are kind of touching the mat. So we can kind of really feel if we grip with our feet, we're kind of gripping with all of our feet as opposed to just our toes. So really grounding us into the earth here in our mountain. And then thinking about our shoulders coming over our hips. So just thinking about that natural posture. And then let's go ahead and take a nice slow inhale, bringing our shoulder blades together, giving them a little bit of a squeeze. And then as we exhale, shifting our shoulders away from our ears. Now let's go ahead and just turn our palms nice to the center. And then let's take a moment, squeeze our thighs, pulling our belly up towards our belly button. Now as we come into our mountain here, let's go ahead and close our eyes for a second. And let's just feel the strength of our mountain. Let's feel where our feet are connected. Each exhale, just bringing our shoulders away from our ears. On our next exhale, let's drop our right ear towards our right shoulder. So trying not to change our body, keeping it in a nice natural posture and really allowing our shoulders to come away from our ears to stretch out that side of our neck. And then let's go ahead and inhale and slowly switch to the other side. Nice. Big exhale, bringing those shoulders away from our ears. And then slowly bringing our chin down to the center. Let's go ahead and take our chin down towards the earth. Now here in this one, we want to just make sure that we have a little space between our chin and our chest. We're not trying to tuck it underneath. We're just trying to reach, like we're trying to push a button on the floor with our chin here. And then once we do so, just kind of allowing for our shoulders to relax down. It's going to stretch that little upper bitty part of our neck. A nice big inhale, taking our fingers wide, spacing them out, shoulders away from our ears. And then let's slowly start to take our head in a nice little half circle. From side to side. And then inhale, slowly coming back to center. Let's take a moment here, release our hands, still keeping our feet in our posture, but we're going to release our hands and we're just going to take our hands up in a circle here. This is also a good time to take a moment to close our eyes and take some nice cleansing breaths. So inhaling through that nose. And then as we exhale, almost as if we're fogging a mirror. I also call it a Darth Vader breath. So either which way, inhaling through that nose. Nice slow exhale, fogging our mirror. Opening our mouth. And just letting that exhale slowly come. Now switching directions with our wrists. Continuing with that slow exhale. Now slowly relaxing our hands down to our side. Let's take our left hand and we're going to reach it out like we're handing somebody something. We're going to take our right fingers and we're going to meet our left fingertips. And we're going to slowly press onto our fingertips wherever it is comfortable on that hand. And we're going to press the palm of that hand forward and we're just going to open up our forearm here. So this is going to be, if we have not done this, a very tight place that we didn't know you could stretch. So kind of take it with a grain of salt and remember to breathe. If we need to kind of let up on that pressure with our other hand, we certainly can. But continuing to breathe. This is sometimes, if it's tight, it is hard to breathe, believe it or not. And let's switch hands. So taking that right hand out as if we are offering something to somebody, taking our left fingertips, touching our right fingertips, slowly pressing the bottom of our palm forward, stretching out our forearm here. And then exhale, slowly release. Now let's take our right arm across our body and our left hand's gonna come up and hook underneath, kind of hugging that right shoulder to our body. And as we begin to do so, we can kind of hug with our other hand. We feel that opening, we feel comfortable. And then we're gonna move around in our fingers here. Again, our toes are still nice and connected and grounded. Let's go ahead and switch hands. So releasing that right arm, let's bring our left arm up. Other hand coming underneath, really beginning to bring a little hug here and then moving around in our fingers. Exhale, slowly release. Now let's release our feet. We're just gonna come to a natural stance and we're gonna rock around our body here. So really slowly beginning to just twist through that middle spine. And we're just gonna allow our hands to hit. Now we can kind of really get into it. We can kind of hit with a purpose, or we can just slowly start to move around. We're just allowing for our hands to kind of be free and just kind of hit wherever they hit. We can close our eyes here so we can kind of feel that movement through our spine. And then slowly coming back to center. Now let's take a moment. We're going to come up to the top of our mat. And we're just going to do a little bit of a flowing, I call them three birds here. And all we are doing is at the top of our mat, feet are facing forward. We're going to take one foot, either which one to start, and we're going to take a step back and we're going to turn that foot out. And we're going to open up our palms nice and big, and we're going to bring a bit of bend to that front knee. And then keeping our hands out, we're going to go ahead and step up that right foot, or whichever foot to me, the other one, and we're going to give ourselves a hug. Now let's go ahead and take that other foot back. We're going to open our arms out. That back foot is facing open, front foot is facing forward, a little bend in that front knee. Now nice big inhale. This time when we hug, we're going to switch that hand on top and give ourselves a hug. Now let's go ahead and do that again. Right foot stepping back, opening up into that lunge, opening up our chest nice and big. Inhale, switching hands on top. And switching to that other foot. Now here's the thing, let's begin to flow here, nice and slow into our warrior one, back out. And all we want to think about when we're taking that step back is that we are balanced. So it does not matter how far we are stepping back, just that we are balanced as we are stepping back. Just moving with that breath, switching our hands on top as we come up. And let's slowly come back up to the top of our mats. And we're going to come into a little bit of a chair here. For our yoga chair, some things to think about. We want to bring our feet comfortably together, but enough so that our thighs can kind of squeeze together. For our chair, it is like we're sitting in a chair. So when we come into our chair, all we're doing is taking our bottom back towards our wall. So our knees aren't really shifting or wobbling here. Our bottom is just coming back. So it's however much we can sit down that back, and then we're going to squeeze those cheeks. So squeezing our cheeks here, feet are connected, bottom is coming back, but we want to feel a little bit of length in that spine. So let's go ahead and inhale and take our hands out in front of us. And now let's reach our hands out front while we pull our bottom back here. And it doesn't matter how close we are, it is what our natural body length is here. So again, hands are going in one direction, bottom is going to the other. Squeezing our thighs together, squeezing our bottom here. Let's hold for a few breaths, holding that chair. Now exhale, bringing our hands down. Let's take a couple breaths here. We're going to come back into our chair. So on that next inhale, bringing our hands back to heart center, lowering our bottom back. Let's squeeze those thighs together. Let's squeeze our cheeks. And then we're going to inhale our hands up. Now we're going to reach out with our hands and we're going to take our bottom back in opposite directions here. So we're squeezing our thighs. Now if we think about it, we can squeeze our lower butt, our middle butt, and almost all the way up. And exhale, release. So as you start to learn more about our chair, it's really about, our bottom has three muscles here. We want to think about squeezing all three of them together. If you don't feel them, you will. So let's come up to the top of our mats here. Our feet are going to face forward. Let's take a nice big inhale, and we're going to come into our Charlie's Angels finger. So first three fingers are going to interlace, pointer finger up, thumb is back, bringing them up over our head. Now let's reach that pointer finger up nice and long, all the way up to the sky. And then we're going to slowly just allow for our ribs to shift around that spine. So nice, big shift in that rib cage from side to side. Taking our time here in our crescent moon. Slowly moving. Really thinking about lengthening each vertebrae out here. And let's exhale. We're going to release our hands, slowly coming on to bringing our hands onto our thighs. And then we're gonna slowly walk our hands down our legs until we are comfortable in dropping that crown. And let's slowly start to bring our hands down to the mat. Now, if our hands can come down to the mat here, great. If not, we can reach our hands out in front of us. So we're just gonna slowly start to walk our feet back. And we're gonna slowly lower down onto one knee and then the other. We're gonna come back into our cat-cow here. We're just gonna breathe through that spine. And we're just kind of flowing here, so nothing really formal. Just thinking about inhaling, dropping our belly down, exhaling, letting it out through that spine. Probably the hardest part of starting with our cat-cow is figuring out how that breath, the body naturally wants to do the opposite. It does for a lot of people, if not nice. So just slowly flowing here. Now let's come back into that puppy dog one more time. So lowering down onto our forearms, interlacing those fingers here. We're gonna press with those forearms and push our bottom back towards our heels. As we are pressing that bottom back, let's go ahead and either keep our head in line with our spine or drop our head down. Now let's go ahead and just shift our hips here just a little bit. You can't really shift a lot in our puppy dog. It's probably that little lower part of our butts here just shifting. And then we're going to slowly make our way down onto our bellies. As we lower down onto our bellies, we're going to come all the way down, and we're just going to place our hands underneath our armpits. We're not going to really do anything fancy with these hands underneath our armpits. It's just going to help us come up in our cobra. So for our cobra, all we are doing here, cobra or baby cobra, we are going to slowly inhale, and as we do that, we're going to squeeze those shoulder blades, and that's just going to lift our chest off the ground and our hands off the ground. And then we're going to exhale, and we're going to slowly lower back down. And as we inhale, we're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together, opening up our chest. And as we exhale, we're going to go ahead and slowly lower back down. Let's do a couple more flows here. Inhale, opening up that chest, really thinking about squeezing our shoulders. And then exhale, lowering down. And then one more time, inhaling, squeezing those shoulder blades. And then exhale, lowering down. Now let's come onto our forearms here. So we're just going to lift our chest up a little bit more, bringing our heart up. We're going to open that chest, and as we are resting on our forearms, our palms are facing down, and this is our Sphinx pose. And in our Sphinx pose, let's go ahead and get into our perfect Sphinx, maybe lifting that chin up like we are enjoying the sun in the desert, really thinking about lengthening through our spine here. Nice big breaths. And let's go ahead and exhale. We're going to slowly come down into our resting crocodile. For a resting crocodile, we are going to stack one forearm and then the other, and we're going to rest our forehead on our forearms. And then on our next inhale, let's slowly turn and look one direction with our head. Now, as we do that, we can simply rest our head and our temple here on that forearm. We can also give a little bit of press on our temple onto that forearm, give a little stretch in that neck. Now inhale, switching directions, looking the other direction, slowly turning our head, pressing our temple onto our forearms. Nice big inhale. Let's slowly come into our baby pose on the opposite side that we started with. So if we can remember, otherwise let's come to a side that's comfortable. So let's go ahead and roll over onto our baby pose. That's just rolling onto our side here. And again, this is wherever we are comfortable with our hands. Let's slowly go ahead and lower down onto our back any way that is comfortable. As we lower onto our back, let's move around in those shoulders again, letting them settle into our mats. And let's go ahead and slowly bring our knees into our chest one more time. And when we bring our knees into our chest, our knees can be kind of out to the side and wide. Our feet can be crossed. They can be straight out in front of us. We just want to kind of bring a little movement in a way that is comfortable, and we want to keep our back connected down towards the earth. A nice slow movement here from side to side. Now let's go ahead and come into a version of a dead bug. And all we're gonna do is, if our feet are crossed, we are gonna release them. If they are straight forward, we're gonna release our hips to the side. So we can still keep our hands held underneath those knees. We're just gonna allow our hips to fall to the side, and then we're just gonna rock side to side here. So our knees are nice and wide. Our lower back and lower body are on the mat. As we are ready, let's begin to find our final resting pose. So let's go ahead and choose whether we would like to be in that extended mountain, which is just reaching our hands overhead and our feet out nice and long. Or we can choose to maybe come into our constructive rest pose. Or we can choose to just lay and come all the way down towards the earth. But whatever we choose today, let's take a moment to kind of settle in. Move around in our shoulders and our back, just kind of pressing it in towards the earth. And then let's take a moment to breathe and bring body awareness from head to toe. So as we take our next inhale, bringing it down all the way to our toes. And then once we get that breath to our toes, let's slowly think about just letting go of everything coming through up our body. So just relaxing, letting our hips settle, our ankles, letting our shoulders, letting our hands let go. Slowly coming back to that breath that we started with, that nice, slow and simple inhale and exhale. And for our practice tonight, we're just going to slowly bring awareness around our body. So as I mentioned a body part, we just want to bring our mind to that place, and we want to be aware of the way we feel, and we want to let it go. So as I'm going through the different body parts, you can repeat them back to yourself slowly, or you can just listen. That is up to you. So let's go ahead, and we're going to first start with our right hand. So let's go ahead, relaxing our hand. Let's bring our awareness to our right thumb, our second finger, our third finger, our fourth finger, our fifth finger, the palm of our hand, becoming aware of the back of our hand, our wrist, our lower arm, our right elbow, our upper arm, our shoulder, our armpit, the right wrist, our right hip, right thigh, our right kneecap, our right calf, our right ankle, our right heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Now let's slowly come down our left side. So let's become aware of our left hand, bringing attention to our left thumb, our second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, palm of our hand, back of our hand, our left wrist, our lower arm, our elbow, our upper arm, our shoulder, our armpit, our left wrist, our left hip, our left thigh, our left kneecap, our left calf, our left ankle, our left heel, sole of our left foot, top of our foot, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Now let's bring our awareness to all of our back. Feeling all of our back touching the mat. Being aware of our right shoulder blade, our left shoulder blade, our right cheek, and our left cheek, our spine, and our whole back. Now let's start at the top of our head, moving to our forehead, relaxing both temples, relaxing the space between our eyebrows, relaxing the top of our head, our right eyebrow, our left eyebrow, relaxing the space again between our eyes, our right eyelid, our left eyelid, our right eye, our left eye, our right ear, our left ear, our right cheek, and our left cheek. Relaxing our nose, relaxing our upper lip, our lower lip, relaxing where our ears and our throat meet, relaxing our jaw, relaxing our chin, relaxing our tongue, relaxing the front of our bodies, letting it melt, and coming back to our breath. Just noticing it flowing in and out. Coming back to just noticing that natural breath. Noticing how it occurs effortlessly, naturally. And just become aware as we're slowly coming back. We're just beginning to maybe move around our fingers and toes. Maybe moving our wrists as we're listening to that breath in the space around us. And let's go ahead and slowly begin to open our eyes, making our way, slowly becoming awake and moving to any easy seated posture of our choice. And as we come to that easy seated posture, as we bring our hands into our heart center, let's take 3 nice breaths to finish. So nice big inhale through our nose. And on our third exhale, just allowing ourselves to be present in this moment, to be aware of how our mind and our body has shifted, and allow ourselves to feel the peace and the calm around us. As always, I thank you for coming. Peace.